Welcome to my channel. My name is Juju and this is a Juju Shelf. Today I want to talk about the book I just finished. Totally left it on the couch. Excuse me. The book I just finished. Second Tide's the Charm by Chandra Blumberg. I believe that's how I say her name. I'm never sure with authors' names, but this is the book. So the character's name is Hope and Adrian, and Hope and Adrian have a history which you learn more and more about as the story goes on, but they have been apart for 3 years, and they kind of just fizzled in their relationship. I don't know how to describe it, but I don't want to say, and I always say this, I don't want to say too much, so I'm trying to think about how I want to say this. There's a situation where they come across each other, and then the story starts unfolding from that point, and you start to understand what happened in the relationship and where they stand and all of that. I have not rated this book on Storygraph yet, but I'm thinking about it now, and I'm probably going to rate this a 3-star. This is a cute, I would say it's a cutesy book. I probably will not say, oh, I want to read this book again, especially, there's a lot of sea knowledge in here. So if you love sharks, read this book, okay? There you go. However, how do I say this? On the cover, I don't know if you can see, but they're like looking hostilely at each other on the cover. So the whole time you're reading the story, I'm like, okay, that was 1 second. I don't know if that should have been the cover of this book, first of all, because I kept looking at it like, I don't know how I feel about that. The part that I struggled with this book is that when she was describing situational elements of the story, I sometimes became lost. And that happened at the last couple chapters. And I was like, what? I felt like the author was trying to be really expressive with, you know how when you're reading a story and the author kind of is talking about story and they're building it up, but they're creating the image of the story without describing it directly. They're using different words. Like a great example, which did make sense in this book. She says that Hope, the main character, she was laughing and it was like fizzled over like a Coke. Something of that nature. I actually just saw it a minute ago. I wonder if I can find it again to be exact. Yeah. A laugh bubbles out of Hope, fizzy as a Coke can crackled open in July. At the sound, my nerves evaporate, leaving me with the effervescent happiness. And it kind of gets more and more, I guess, what is that term that she's doing? Descriptive or imaginative, as the book kind of reaches the conclusion. And some of them, I'm not going to lie, I was like, what? Just say, at one point I was like, just say it. Like, what are you doing? But overall, I have to say, Chandra, good book. I did enjoy reading it. It did take me a little bit longer because I wasn't eating it up like I would a 5-star book where I was like, oh, reading it. But I was able to read it consistently, which is saying a lot about a book. Sometimes I have to break, if I'm struggling to read a book, I have to break it up and read another one in between. And this one was kind of a breakup of another book I've been reading, which I will show you here. I'm not gonna lie to you, I went to Barnes & Noble. I'm trying to reach the book. I went to Barnes & Noble to buy this book after I read Legendborn. Oh, let me get Legendborn. Okay. After I read Legendborn, oh my gosh, this book was so good. I'm so glad I went to reading it and switched from audio. Best decision ever, okay? Best decision ever. Such a good book. I was like this. I'm going to insert a video that I had recorded a quick clip when I was reading it. And I was so worked up. You could not tear me from these pages, okay? I did not want to do anything but read this book. So Tracy, Deonn, thumbs up. Has me over here shook. Yo, shook. I'm like, okay, how many more pages? Oh my God. There's so much going on here. This is such a good book. I'm so glad I switched to reading it. Highly, highly recommend. And I haven't even finished it. Such a good, this author, Tracy Deonn. 5 stars, 5 stars. No lie, no shade. I cannot wait to finish this book. And I have to go out and immediately buy the second one because I need to know what's going to happen. And I just know my phone's like, it's going to end in a cliffhanger because there's so much happening. There's no way she can resolve it in the little bit of pages I have left. I'm so in my feels. I'm so in my feels. Myself. I need to slow this down. So that's when I used this as the filler book. I stopped reading this to read this because I was like, let me just switch gears here so that I don't eat up this book. And you know, there's 100 more pages on this book, I think, than the other book. And spoiler alert, go ahead and fast forward like 5 seconds if you don't want to hear this. But in this book, they still have not found Nick yet. Okay? I'm like, what in the world? And I was frustrated. I was getting frustrated with this book because she's right at the point where she's realizing who she is. And so this book is kind of like, okay, now that she knows that her fitting into basically square peg, and she doesn't fit, obviously, because she's more than just this thing. She's so much more because her lineage comes from 2 very powerful lines. And so she is just remarkably different than anyone else. So there's not really anyone to tell her, like, you should do this because of it, because honestly, they can hardly believe it themselves, okay? So, and that's what I'll say about this. But this is such a good book. I hope this continues. I'm really enjoying it so much. I'm completely in my feelings about what is happening to what's his name? The guy that you end up not liking at first. Sluin, that's his name, Slew or Sel. I think he goes by Sel. He's one of those people you just grow to love. So there's that. And there's a lot of politics happening in this book. There was politics happening in the first book, but there's a lot happening in this book. And there's already, and like I said, I'm only on page 142. I stopped right in the middle, like 1 page before I got to chapter 14. I don't know why, but I was just good and done. I was like, okay, let me stop. So I stopped really in the middle, like 1 page left in chapter 13. And I was like, I'm stopping now because I was getting good and aggravated. I definitely think that this is a great book. I cannot wait to finish it, but I am pacing myself. I'm slowing it down. Another thing, when I was at Barnes & Noble, which I think I took a video of that, and if so, I will insert it here, but the Legendborn book that they had at Barnes & Noble was a special edition, so it had like swords on the end. I was like, oh, I want that. I was so tempted to buy that book, but because it was the only one left, but I did not. I didn't do it. But I love having the books with the edges. I joined a book club where I get a book every other month. I think February would be my first month doing it. Is it called Cover Snob? I think that is. Shelby Monáe she gives a code on her channel, and I used that and got the book. So I'm excited for the first book that comes out with that as well. And I need to go see what that book is so I don't accidentally go buy it. Well, that would be a good thing. So speaking of books I bought, I did tell you in the last video that I wasn't home. I'm home now, obviously. And I want to show you the books I have got. So, and obviously I haven't read these books, but the books I bought in addition to. So let me see. I think I showed you guys all of these books. I don't know if I showed you this one, but if I did, I'll just show you again. So Okay, so I got this book, Death of an Author. It looked really interesting, and it just came out. So this is a brand new release. I haven't read it. I don't know when I'm going to read it. I don't feel like I am one of the women that has to read a book when it's released to post a video. I don't feel the need to that. But I did want to get this as a pre-order just to support the author, to increase the probability that they would get more of these in the bookstore. Because, you know, when you pre-order a book, that kind of lets them know, bookstores know how many, or if they should get a lot of these books. So I did want to support the author because I heard great things about her. And one of the book clubs I'm in on Facebook was recommending this book. I also got Janelle Monáe's book, The Memories and Other Stories of Dirty Computer Librarian. So this is a sci-fi novel, and it said, I'll just read this little part up here. It says, the memory librarian might not be the answer to social and political upsets of our time, but it is an answer, and a fiercely inspiring one. A deepening of Afrofuturism's potential to weaponize our dreams for a freer, more joyous world. Wired. So, first of all, Janelle Monáe is amazing. Her lifestyle closely resembles my own in certain areas. Won't go into detail there. And I think she's freaking amazing. I love her music. So this was a no-brainer for me to get this book. And I did get this book at the bottom. And Chauncey Schroeder recommended this book, The Yellow Wife. So I have this on audiobook, and I have the physical book, so I can listen and read at the same time. This is a short book, so I don't think it's going to be a long read or anything of that nature. And I am curious. It's 267 pages, so it's not that long. I do like this cover. It's not smooth. It's textured. And I think I told you guys I had this, James. I just finished Trees by Percival Everett 2 days ago as well. I tend to, like, I can read a book, stop and read another book, or I see it as stopping and reading another book, but then I will come back to another book in the middle, because also I'm reading this book right now as well, the Gilded ones, but that one in my mind is paused. So it's the way my brain works. I'm a little quirky. But that is a really good fantasy story so far. It's a little slower. There's a lot going on to digest. And I have that on audiobook, plus I have a physical book upstairs as well. And as you can see, I like to take the covers off. So that's why it looks so light, because this is just the cover of the book. But it shows you what book I'm reading. So there you go. And I really am enjoying that book. And I understand what the Gilded ones are now and what that means. And she's right at the point where they're about to go to battle, and I'm a little nervous for what's gonna happen. I could definitely see this being a series, which I'm pretty sure it already is a series, and I could see how she is a badass, and she doesn't even fully grasp how much of a badass she is, even though she's exploring the depth of her abilities right now. So I did get that. Back to James. I got James as well. I do want to read this year. I may have to get the audiobook for this. I'm not sure, because if it's anything like Trees, the audiobook helped me to get through the book. There was a lot happening, and if I could see, if I was reading the Trees book, I probably would have reread instead of continuing listening, which is what I was doing, because I would have questioned if what I read was understood correctly. But when I'm listening to it, I'm like, okay, I definitely heard that, you know, so I can continue going. And the way that book, The Trees, ended, I was like, wait, what? I kid you not. I really was just like, okay, like it wasn't a bad ending. It was how you would end the story if it was real. Like, but what happened in the Trees, which I won't say, but what happened and how it was coming to pass and all of that was really good. Like, I was like, wow. But it also kind of gave me it put me in the same mind. It put me in the same, I keep feeling like there's something in my eye. It's messing my focus. It put me in the same mental space as Sky Full of Elephants, because in Sky Full of Elephants, it was really thought-provoking as well. And I would say Trees is thought-provoking because it made me think, wow, that I could see that happening, you know, in today's time. Like the way Trees was written, it was like it could be happening right now. Okay, so it was a very good book. It was very thought-provoking, and it just takes me back to Black consciousness and pain, honestly. Like if Black consciousness is ever manifested outside of our bodies to impact the world, either skyfall elephants will happen or something like the Trees could happen. That's all I got to say. Like it's so vast that I'm like, okay, this, to me, it was the same concept. You may disagree, but to me, it was the same concept. It was the same underscore of the same pain of, you know, like what would happen if that was actually manifested into reality. So back to James once again. So I have not read this, and I tend to not read these, as you may have guessed by now. But I've heard good things about this. This, from what I believe I know about this book, is that James is a slave and he is about to be sold, or his family's about to be sold, and that's when he decides to make a run for it with his family or something of that nature. So I want to read this because it sounds really interesting. And Percival Everett, he has a really interesting way of putting the perspective and the challenges of Black Americans into print. So definitely want to read that. I also got a couple other books at Barnes & Noble I forgot to mention because when I saw them I was like, I have to get them. So When I Think of You by Myah Ariel, I got that book, so I'm excited to read this. I think is Myah? What? I feel like this author may be doing a live, but I'm not going to say that, so I'm not sure. So this book, the font is kind of just as small as well. So there's, while the pages don't look like that much, I don't know, it's what, 345 pages. So this is a good little book. It looks cute, but it's a second chance romance. It says a second chance at first love. Someone was detected. I think my daughter's walking in, so there's that. Hi.
I'm home.
Welcome home. So I don't mind second chance romance. However, it has to be the right kind of scenario. Like if it was an unhealthy relationship the first time, I don't feel like it should come back around the second time. Like you should leave that in the past. But for the same thing for second chance tides, the reason that they separated wasn't from unhealthy habits or behaviors. So, well, kind of it was, but that was because of one of the people, I'm not going to say which, needed to work through some of their stuff. But this is a second chance romance, so I'm going to read that as well. That's another book I got. And then I got The Gravity of Us by Brittany Cherry. I did say I wanted to read some more books of hers. The funny thing is, this is from the Element series, and this is like the 4th book in the series. So I didn't realize that when I got it. I just heard so many good things about this book, and the other 3 books I haven't heard mention of at all, and I didn't realize it was part of a series. I really love reading books in order, but I think I heard that if you read this book, this book is not dependent upon the other 3 books, so I may just read it anyway. I don't know if I mentioned this book, and I do want to read it. I've actually been looking at it and considering reading it. I got this at Quail Ridge Books in North Carolina, and this was a few months back when I got it. But it's The Library of the Dead. It looks really, really cool. Now, I think this is a YA book, but it says when Ghost talks, she will listen. And it has really interesting reviews. I didn't read that much about it, but it has obviously, I think, ghost in here and maybe some magic as well. And I love stories about magic and ghosts. So I figured for a light, fun read, this would be nice to read. This is a bigger book. And let's see, it's 330 pages. So like I don't know if I can convey like the general size of a book compared to this one. Like you can see it's a bigger book. So it's 300 some pages, but I feel like that's more. This book as well, but I think I already mentioned it. So locally here, there is a Beck Culture Center, and they store African American history, which I think their tagline is where African American history lives. I volunteered there for a couple years, and I really love that place. And I went to a Christmas party in December, and they sell a couple books, so I actually bought a couple. But Robert Booker passed away, was it in 2023, the end of 2023 or 2024? But he passed away not too long ago, and I had the honor of meeting him actually a couple times when I was volunteering at the back. He was a really nice man. He was one of those people that, you know, that he's well known, obviously, in our community. And when I met him in person, he did not disappoint. And I really love that, because sometimes when you meet people that you're like, oh my goodness, you're such and such, they disappoint. But he did not. He was a social rights activist. He was really big in the community, and he wrote this book. And the name of it is The Heat of Red Summer. So I wanted to buy this book because it's got my local history. Here's his picture. And I feel like I don't know that much about Knoxville. Like sometimes I do, I don't know. But I wanted to read about this. So I bought this book at the back as well, just to support him. I also have his, and he gave me this book when I met, if I can get it. When I met him the first time. This is the book he gave me, and it's 200 Years of Black Culture in Knoxville, Tennessee, 1791 to 1991. And I really wish that I had asked him, if I had the forethought to ask him to sign the book, since he gave it to me. But I was just so thankful that he gave me the book, because I was looking, and at the time where I was in my life then, like, buying this book just seemed like a lot, because my kids were young and I had a lot going on. So him giving it to me, like, I've always cherished this book, and I've had it for many years now. So there's pictures just about on every page, and details. So I really love this. Oh, this is the judge. Yeah, William H. Hasty. So there is a room in the back that is named after him. And like I said, I volunteered there for 2 years, so his name is well known. But I did learn a lot while I volunteered there, which is one of the reasons I volunteered. So it was really nice to meet people from the community, and definitely meeting him was one of the highlights. I think I have a picture of me and him, and if I can find it, I will post it here as well so you can see. Okay, well, I think that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any book suggestions, especially any sci-fi, fantasy with a little bit of romance, that'd be nice, books that you recommend, please post that in the comments and let me know. And if you've read any of the books I've read, tell me what you thought about them as well. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'm about to start Taming Cain on my Kindle. I'll post a picture of that, and I will let you guys know how that goes. That is a paranormal romance book. I don't know if it's erotic or not. It doesn't really matter to me, but I did want to get something a little bit more sci-fi related. The Trees was kind of sci-fi, but it kind of touched on it, and I really want to go. Sci-fi is like my so romance was my first 11 books, and then sci-fi romance has been my love the longest. Like, when I found sci-fi books and then you add a little danger and romance, girl, I am hooked. Okay. I'll let you know how it goes, and I hope that you're having a fantastic day. If not, I hope this video makes your day a little brighter. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.